Today, we're diving into something that's, well, it's bigger than just technology. We're going to explore that massive intersection between artificial intelligence and the very core of what makes us human. We're going to look at how a personal crisis for one of the world's top AI experts completely turned his own ideas about our future with machines upside down.
So let's kick things off with this really powerful thought from AI pioneer Kai-Fu Lee. He basically says, look, before we can even begin to figure out our future with AI, we first have to take a hard look in the mirror and get clear on our own values. See, this isn't a tech problem, it's a human one.
And for Lee, this big realization didn't come from some research lab or a corporate boardroom. Nope, it came from a deeply personal confession, a moment that forced him to confront everything he thought was important.
In this story, this is really the heart of it all. It takes this huge, kind of scary topic of AI and grounds it in a moment that is just so profoundly and universally human.
Okay, so picture this. It's 1991. Kai-Fu Lee is right there by his wife's side. She's going through a really tough 12-hour labor. But here's the thing. He keeps looking at his watch. Why? Because he has a secret plan. If the baby isn't born within the hour, he's actually going to leave her there to go give a presentation on AI to the CEO of Apple. Can you imagine? Luckily, his daughter was born at 11:30, saving him from making a truly unthinkable choice.
And that moment, wow, it stuck with him. It became this source of deep regret. Lee openly calls himself a workaholic, just totally consumed by his ambition in the lightning-fast world of AI, a world that was, on the very brink of exploding.
So you gotta ask, right? What was driving this obsession? Well, it was a full-blown technological revolution. And to really get what Lee's talking about, we have to understand the technology that basically defined his life, AI, and more specifically, this breakthrough called deep learning.
Now, what's so wild about deep learning is how simple the basic idea is. You just feed a machine a ridiculous amount of data about one single thing, like, say, millions of pictures of food, until it gets unbelievably good at recognizing that one thing. Is it a hot dog or not a hot dog? That's it. But that one simple trick, that's powerful enough to drive a car or even perfectly mimic a president's speech.
This technology has really unfolded in two different phases. First, you had the US-led era of discovery, which was all about the big, new ideas. But now we're in the era of implementation, and it's absolutely dominated by China. The competition there isn't just tough. Lee calls it a gladiatorial fight to the death, driven by a relentless 996 work culture. That's 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week.
And what's the fuel for this intense implementation? Data. Just staggering amounts of data. To put that number, $18.8 trillion into perspective, that's how much was processed in mobile payments in China in a single year. Every single transaction, from a fancy mall to a farmer's market stall, creates another drop of data. It's the rocket fuel for their AI engine.
So this relentless drive, this absolute obsession with work and data, it just kept defining Lee's life. Until one day, everything came to a sudden, terrifying halt.
A few years back, he was diagnosed with fourth-stage lymphoma. A PET scan lit up with over 20 malignant tumors. All of a sudden, he was facing the very real possibility of having just months to live. And that entire worldview he'd built around work and achievement, it just shattered.
While he was going through treatment, he read a book by an author named Bronnie Ware about the regrets people have on their deathbeds. And the findings were just universal, so clear. Nobody, and I mean nobody, ever wished they'd worked harder. The biggest regrets were always about love, not spending enough time with family and friends, and not putting enough love out into the world.
And that was it. That was his revelation. He realized that work wasn't the point of life at all. Love was. This huge personal epiphany gave him a completely new lens for looking at AI. What if AI taking over all our routine jobs was actually a good thing? What if it could finally free us up to focus on the very things that machines can never, ever do?
So, armed with this totally new perspective, he developed a framework, a kind of blueprint for how humans and AI can not just get by, but actually thrive together.
And it all boils down to this one fundamental question. If AI is going to be better at all the optimizing and calculating, what's left for us? Where do we fit into this new world?
Okay, so let's break this chart down. It's actually pretty simple. You've got two axes, routine versus creative on one, and low versus high compassion on the other. Now that bottom left box, the AI zone, those routine, low compassion jobs like telesales, yeah, they're probably going to be automated. But look at the other three quadrants. That's where we shine. We can use AI as a tool for our own creativity, or we can wrap our human warmth around it, like a doctor delivering an AI-assisted diagnosis with real empathy. And then there's that top right corner, the human zone. That's for jobs that are both creative and compassionate, jobs AI simply can't touch.
So this gives us 4 basic ways we're going to end up working with AI. Sometimes, sure, AI will work alone. Other times, we'll be side-by-side collaborators. In some cases, AI will just be another tool to help our own creativity. And then, crucially, there will be jobs where the human touch, the compassion, is the most important part, and the AI is just crunching numbers in the background.
So, what's the big takeaway here? What does this all mean for you and me? It means we need to stop thinking about this as a competition with machines. It's about rediscovering what it even means to be human in the first place.
Just think about this for a second. When the AI program AlphaGo beat the world's greatest Go player, the human champion, Qi was crying. Why? Because he loved the game. AlphaGo, it felt nothing, zero, no joy of victory, no desire to hug a loved one. It just calculated. And that right there, that's the fundamental difference.
So how do we get ready for this future? The advice is actually pretty clear. Stop focusing on memorizing stuff. A computer will always beat you at that game. Instead, double down on what makes you human. Develop your creativity, your communication skills, your empathy. Follow your passions, because that's where you're going to do your best work. And just be open to entirely new professions that we can't even imagine yet.
And this brings us to a really beautiful and powerful final idea. Maybe AI isn't a threat at all. Maybe it's a gift, a kind of serendipity that, by taking over the boring parts of our lives, is actually forcing us to remember and refocus on the parts that truly, truly matter.
And that's where we'll leave it, turning the question back to you. If AI is the wake-up call, reminding us of what makes us uniquely human, our capacity for love, compassion, and creativity, what are you going to do with that reminder? What will you choose to focus on?